My name is Hoang-Van Nguyen. I am your candidate for Dlc781 President, and I'm so happy to get a chance to get to know our statewide candidates and share some questions so that you can get to know them a little bit better too. Before we get fully started in the meeting though, let's go through how we plan to execute our meeting today. All right, some notes. One thing we do want to let you know is starting right now, the meeting is going to be recorded. So if you don't want your voice to be heard with questions, or you don't want your face to be on camera, this is the opportunity to turn off your camera right now. Questions will be taken after the panel discussion. And to ask the questions of the candidates, what you can do is you can raise your hand using the little raise hand button near your name on the participant hand, or you can pose your question on the chat, which will go to the moderator. If you would like your voice to be heard, we will unmute you after we call on your name, and you'll have the opportunity to ask your questions of the statewide candidates. We also will be providing automated subtitles during this meeting. Because they're automated, we can't guarantee how good they're going to be, but we will be cleaning up the subtitles when we provide a transcript after the meeting. And lastly, and this is the most important, we want to treat all participants and candidates with respect. We may disagree on topics, but we all agree that we must build a stronger union together. All right, let's start with initial introductions. Candidate for Local 1000 President is Miguel Cordova. He's an education programs consultant at the California Department of Education with 23 years of state service. He's also the current Bargaining Unit 21 chair, and he is part of the GeoPay Task Force and the Cost Savings Task Force. And for our next candidate, we have Tara Rooks running for VP Secretary Treasurer. She is a licensed vocational nurse at Folsom State Prison with over 13 years of state service. She's also the current president of District Labor Council 769. And she is a 2020 SEIU International Delegate. And our next candidate, please. Our next candidate is Luisa. She is candidate for Vice President of Organizing and Representation. She is also a licensed vocational nurse at Avenal State Prison with 13 years of state service. She is chair of Bargaining Unit 20. And she was one of the leads working on the Stop Mandatory Overtime campaign in 2015 for our medical staff in the prisons. And she is part of our LVN to RN internship program. And then our next candidate, please. We also have Kimberly Cohort. She is candidate for Vice President of Bargaining, and she is a registered nurse for the Department of State Hospitals in Napa with 21 years of state service. She is also chair of Bargaining Unit 17 since 2011. She's been part of the bargaining team in various roles since 2004, and she is also a SEIU International Delegate. And then the last candidate that's up is me. I am your candidate for Dlc781 President. I'm an AGPA at CalPERS with over 15 years of state service. I'm the current Secretary Treasurer. And I also am part of the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance. And I also do disability advocacy, and last year I was chair of the CalPERS Disability Advisory Committee, and our team won the statewide ASCED and SDAC DAC of the Year award. And also I feel very blessed to be the recipient of the CalPERS Apex Award this year. And on the side, I also was a Bernie Sanders victory captain, which was super fun. All right, now that you got a chance to learn a little bit about us, let's get started with the questions. Question number 1 is for all the candidates. Could you please tell us a bit about who you are? And let's start with our first candidate. Candidate Cordova, could you please answer the question? Tell us a little bit more about who you are.
All right, thank you, Juan. I want to thank you for inviting us to come and speak to your DLC. I think that this is a great event and great way of doing this. And so, yeah, a little bit about myself. You know, you see some of these things, but you know, for me, when you hear about education being the great equalizer, that has been pretty much my experience. You know, education equity has been my focus for my professional career. I've worked for the California Department of Education for 23 years. I worked at a college university before that. I have spent a lot of time working on issues with K-12 and college communities, working on creating opportunities to learn and grow and build understanding, to create unity, to bring folks together, especially talking about some very important issues as we see a lot of times in you know, things that are going on today, currently, things that are going on even in our union. So as I entered into the world of labor and became a steward, I began looking at what all the things that were going on in SEIU Local 1000, all the things that we're engaged in. I saw the same needs that I saw in working in my professional career as an educator, things that I have been committed to in education and connected to this work. I saw those same opportunities present themselves in the work that we're doing with our own communities and DLCs throughout the state. And, you know, honestly, that's why I'm running for president. You know, when we talk about the power of 96,000, I believe that we can actually make that real and not have it ring hollow with so many people when they hear that. My aim in running for SEIU Local 1000 President is to make that a reality.
Thank you very much, Candidate Cordova. Candidate Rooks, could you please tell us a little bit more of who you are?
Yes, hi. Thank you, Vaughn. I would like to thank you as well and your district for being on this call today. I really appreciate it. Hello, everybody. My name is Tara Rooks, and I am running for Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer. I've been a nurse for 30 years, though. I've been a licensed vocational nurse for 30 years. And honestly, I never thought that I would be so passionate about anything other than nursing until I got more involved with our union, right? So for me, teaching or nursing is teaching and educating like your patients about how to maybe give an injection or about, you know, their situation that they're in with their health. And then with organizing and educating our members about the importance of why we should be a member or the history of unions is also teaching. So I think, you know, I believe that this fit right into what I wanted to do. And as far as being Secretary Treasurer, I believe that I know that I'm the best for this position because I understand that knowing where our finances are is crucial, right? And in addition, transparency of our finances is very important to our members. You know, we hear it all the time, and it's true. We should know where we are financially, right? So I'm committed to balancing our finances and tracking our expenses to ensure that we continue to thrive. And I've had experience doing that because I am a DLC president, and in our district, you need to know how to budget for the membership. So I have a vision and a plan of closely working with the officers of each district, because for me, I didn't really have too many people reach out to me as a new DLC president. So I really had to pretty much learn as I went. And even though you can find your way doing that, it's really not the best way to do it, right? So I would love to sit down with each district, each officer in the district to talk to them about the plan and the vision that I have, but then more importantly, listen to them about their vision and their plan about how they would like to improve their district and how they would use their budget to build membership and to create revenue for our organization, because we know that if that does not exist, then we're not sustaining the organization. And then with the one-on-ones, I think I know that I would be able to see if anyone needs assistance in doing so, because really not everyone understands how how to do that, and they lack the training of how to budget, you know, their district. So, and we need those things, those tools and resources to succeed. So for me, that's what it's about. So thank you. I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Candidate Leuma. Could you please tell us who you are?
Hi, I'm Luisa. I'm Luisa Leuma. I am a licensed vocational nurse at Avenal State Prison. I am also the candidate who is running for your Vice President of Organizing and Representation. But to give you a little bit of a background for me, prior to me being the chair that I am for Unit 20 today, is I organized in the Central Valley and the Central Coast for 3 years. And prior to that, I was the lead person for our stop mandatory overtime in 2015 that led into our bargaining session in 2016. And I could tell you that relationships truly matter. One of the things that I did going into the work sites, I thought I was bringing educational information to them, teaching them why it's important to be part of a larger picture of things, especially being part of SEIU Local 1000. But little did I know, they were teaching me the importance of listening to what's important to them as members, things that they are passionate about. And what I did learn and what I walked away with is I do know representational issues are a key factor to our members across the state of California. And that is why I have chosen to run for Vice President of Organizing and Representation, because I do believe that this is an area that we could work and dive deeply into, because currently, in case you didn't know, currently we probably have 50 people who are our staff folks who do representational issues across the state, and we represent 96,000. We are so far behind with numbers of people who could do this work. So I believe that we have an opportunity to make that change. We have an opportunity to bring positive change into our organization moving forward. But I'm also part of the API committee, the Asian Pacific Islander Committee. I'm probably one of the 2 Polynesians who are very proactive right now with SEIU Local 1000, but that doesn't mean anything, because as we take a deeper dive and make sure that our members stay engaged, those numbers could grow. So that's just a little bit about me.
Thank you so much, Candidate Leuma. Candidate Cowart, could you please tell us a bit about who you are?
I can, besides what folks see on the screen. But before I get started, I actually have to do this. Hi, Stuart. This is thing me and Stuart have. Like every time I see him, I just have to say his name a certain way. But like Vaughn said, my name is Kimberly Cowart. I am running for your next VP of Bargaining. So in the next few minutes, there's 2 things that I want folks to know about me that actually sets me apart from the other candidates. The first thing is, unlike the other candidates, I come with a wide range of experience and knowledge. I have held every position on the bargaining team. I was first elected as a member, then I became alternate vice chair, then vice chair, and then my current position is chair. And I was always humbled that my peers would actually have that much trust and confidence in me to actually put me into those positions. So I don't take positions that I'm elected into by my peers lightly. I've also been under 4 different vice presidents of bargaining. And I must say 2 have been really good and 2 have been not so good. But what I learned throughout that whole process is that experience and knowledge matters. And it is so important when you're talking about being over 9 bargaining units, the chairs and their bargaining teams. And so the second thing I would like folks to know about me is that when the contract department was understaffed, and I remember this clearly, especially in 2019, I actually led my bargaining team at the negotiating table. And usually it's, you know, the staff and the chair do it together. And at this time, my staff was actually fairly new. So I come with a wide range of experience and knowledge. But as your next vice president of bargaining, I will bring 100% of who I am to not only engage the members, but also to help them win for all of us.
Thank you, candidate Howard. Question number 2. And this question again is for all of our candidates. What have you seen over the last 3 years that makes this the right time and you the right choice? Candidate Cordova, would you mind sharing your response to this question?
Sure. Thank you. So in the last 3 years, and some members may see it, and some may not. Some may see different things, but there's been a lot of division at various levels of leadership across the state, and it's impacted how we've led in a lot of our work sites, I believe, and especially how we've led in our union. We've learned about how the significance and the importance of having a team, of being able to work, figuring out ways that we work together to come together and try and really kind of sort out like how we're all going to be a part of resolving that. But that hasn't quite been the case in the last 3 years, I would say. I think another thing that I've seen is just the effect of the Janus decision, Supreme Court decision that came down, and with people opting out, and less of an understanding of labor, and really putting the job, putting that kind of on our list of things that we must do, help educate our members on the significance of what a union does and the significance of why it's important for all of us to come together in solidarity to fight for the things that we fought for in the past and won. And it always is the case with when you have contract bargaining, but then in the meantime, in the time in between, people seem to lose a lot of that. It's important as people come in that we're addressing this effect that Janus has had on us. And I think the other thing that's maybe just a part of it and a culmination of these things is that, we know, we feel it, there's declining numbers. We see energy fading where people are getting tired, or some folks are saying, I don't know, like, what can we do? Or how do we overcome all these divisions? Or people just getting tired, right? Of in what ways do they have to kind of either take a role or take a side and not really wanting to? There's really a declining sense that there really is member empowerment in our local. And I think those are all things that are happening. And in addition, one of the things that many folks may not see is that we're seeing so many staff walk away, leave. We're bleeding out on staff. So we need to stop and take a minute and figure out how we're rebuilding. I think we need to stop and look at all the programs that we're kind of throwing out there and seeing what's working. We need to see ourselves for the leaders that we truly are. And really, that is why you have right time, right choice. We know who we are. We know the experience that we bring. We know how we come together as a team. But we need to believe that we are building leaders. We talk about that a lot. We say that, we hear that, but nobody's truly empowering people to lead. So we will build back this union, block by block, piece by piece. We have to make sure it's sustainable. We have to make sure that we're building things back in a responsible way, and that it's going to last, that it's not something that you get tip over when somebody leaves. And so we need to work to bring back our local in a responsible way. We need to be patient and thoughtful. And honestly, this is why we're here, because our experience, it truly comes in at that point, truly begins to address how we begin to rebuild it. And I think people overlook that. There's a lot of energy to try and do that, but you have to know what we've done in the past, what hasn't worked, what are the things that we've all been a part and seen, and really bring back that empowerment of our member leaders and truly build this union back piece by piece.
Thank you, candidate Cordova. Candidate Brooks, what makes this the right time and you the right choice?
Thank you for that question, Vaughn, because as a team, we've certainly talked about this, right? And so for me, what I've seen too much of is infighting, division, and then, the internal politics, right? So that has unfortunately steered the focus away from what matters most, the members. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm a district president, and I have 52 work sites. And in my leadership journey, what I discovered was that there are just too many people in positions of leadership who have not had the same opportunities as others, right? So I've had the opportunity to be developed, and I've grown, and I've learned a lot of things from the people in this meeting right now, right? So they haven't been given everyone hasn't been given the opportunity to succeed in their roles, right? And so, for example, there are DLCs who forfeit the members the funding every month, right? So not a lot, but there are people who forfeit that funding. So if you guys don't know, there's like 85 cents a member for the district, right? For each member. And some people who are in these districts, they forfeit the funds. Well, not because they don't want to do it, it's because they don't know how. And so I know that that's my role as vice president, secretary, treasurer. I'm supposed to make sure that they succeed because their succession is statewide, right? So each person should know how to budget their funding, their DLC. And that's, again, I mentioned earlier, that's what I didn't have. No one really reached out to me and say, this is how you do it, right? So what makes this the right time is that we know that the current leadership has been in that role for at least 13 plus years, who's not really working with a team at all. And we, as a team, decided, we didn't just wake up and say, we're going to run. This is something that has been brewing. And as leaders, we see ahead and we said, it has to be now. This has to be the right time. What makes me the right choice is that I just love people and I don't like to see fighting. And I know that fighting exists, but we need to figure out how to do this work for the sake of this organization. And I know that I'm the best person to have that, to make that happen, because I'm a person who wants to unify. And I've always been that way all my life. And I feel like with this team, that can happen. So that's what makes me the right choice, because I know that that's important and I want to do that work. So thank you for that question.
Thank you very much, Candidate Rooks. Candidate Leuma, please share what makes this the right time and you the right choice.
Thank you, Vaughn. So I'm just going to be blatantly honest here. I believe that I am the right candidate for this position in comparison to any of the candidates who we currently have on our ballots. And this is why. I'm probably the only candidate who has experience in organizing, and I didn't just organize like any of the member leaders that we currently have in the field. I organized, I was called to be a member leader organizer in the Central Valley and the Central Coast. And during the 3 years that I organized is the only time in the history of our organization in the areas that I organized in where we produced the most members who came out and became stewards in that area. That speaks volume, but that work wasn't just mine. That work was the work of the members who I led, and they were the foot on the ground. Member engagement was number one to me, because how do you talk about things that are important about this organization, but you have not taken the first step in engaging the members? We often talk in the trainings in this organization, we talk about head, heart, hand. But we have the tendency, right, when you're a member who is out organizing, that head, heart, hand kind of goes out the door for some, because they're so focused on the things that are added to their duties. And I believe that when I was out organizing, what I was taught by the leaders of our organization at that time was we we were switching from the service model to the organizing model. Because as where we were at one point, we were just out there. We would go out there, oh, please sign this. Oh, here's a document. This is what's going on. And the conversations were not connecting. We were not relating and connecting with our members at that time. And often what I heard at the time was, you only come out when you need something. And that is disappointing. That's disheartening, because when members pay dues to keep this organization thriving, and the only time you're connecting with them is when you want something, that's not the model we should be doing as an organization as large as SEIU Local 1000. So for me, I truly believe that our member engagement was at a peak at some point. You asked what I've seen in the last 3 years, I've seen a dive in that. Because again, we are switching back to the service model. We are switching back to just engaging members to ask for things. We switched back, I know pandemic happened and they had to take a different turn by using purple texting. But the problem with purple texting is they weren't connecting with the members. You would send a text, and then when a question was asked back, they were not responding. That would make me mad as a member, because if you're gonna try to engage me and then ghost me, then you're not connecting with me. So I do believe, not only am I the best candidate for this position, I went from organizing to being a chair. And I could tell you for sure, I've seen where those two relationships of those two departments need to stay connected at all times. Because when we're done with bargaining, the things that we didn't win, we should be organizing around those issues immediately. The day after bargaining ends, you should be organizing in the work sites about the issues, whether you're a bargaining unit 1, 3, whatever bargaining unit you belong to, those issues need to be moving in the work site. So when we land the next bargaining session, we have information, we have research, we have actions popping off in the work sites that support the bargaining team. And I could tell you, I had that experience when we did the stop mandatory overtime. When Kim and our bargaining team, along with Yvonne Walker, were at the table about stop mandatory overtime, I was one of the people who was out there leading those actions all the way up to Outgrowth headquarters. Sleep didn't matter, because if we're moving, we're trying to win for our members, that's what we do as leaders. So again, I believe that because of my experience and because of the passion I have and the vision that we have as a team for our members as a whole, it's not just a vision for me to buy into, it's a vision that we need our members to see along with us, because when we stand together, we win.
Thank you very much, Candidate Leuma. Candidate Covert, what makes this the right time and you? Thank you very much, Candidate Leuma. Candidate Covert,
Yes.
what makes this the right time and you the right choice?
That's actually a really good question. And actually I have to ask myself that prior to running. And after reflecting probably for a really long time, I came with a very clear answer. I know this is the right time for me because as chair, I truly believe that I had reached goals or came close to reaching goals that set for myself and for my unit. And I also think that it's important to give others an opportunity to step up and lead. I had been in, like I said, had various positions on the bargaining team. And when I reflected on my journey, I just know it's time for me to actually help others with the knowledge and experience that I've attained. But at the same time, with giving other people an opportunity to step up, with their leadership, I want to continue my leadership journey as well. And so I know I am the right choice because I can help develop other leaders, especially the chairs in their units. And in addition to that, I want to bring new ideas to the contract department, right? I would love to create a resource library and leadership development program specifically for the chairs to help them develop, whether you are a new chair just coming in fresh and don't really know anything, or you've been a chair before. I think it is just so vital and important that the chairs are developed, because they in turn have to develop their bargaining teams. And you create new leaders. And we should really go back to really creating leaders 3D. When I first started in this organization, that's what I used to hear all the time. You always have to be finding your replacement, which means you should always be teaching other people. You should always be wanting to basically just shower people with your knowledge and experience. And so that's what I want to do for other people. I want to help them grow, specifically in the contract department, and really reinvent the contract department to where we have something that we could build on as an organization. And it doesn't always feel like we're starting over with each new election or every year or whatever it is. Just something that we can continuously build upon, and people can look at it and say they've grown from that program, or they've grown from going through a certain type of experience through the contract department. So for me, I know this is the right time, and I know I am the right choice, just based on not just my experience, but my passion to want to help others become great leaders.
Thank you very much, candidate Cohort. Question number 3. What are your plans for your first 100 days in office? Candidate Cordova, please start.
Okay. So first 100 days, you know, it's interesting because you hear a lot of thoughts, you know, that people have thrown out there about things that we need to do and we want to change. And they're very much true. And they're things that we've talked about. I mean, definitely we're looking at the prep, like Kim was talking, we're going to have our new SBAC, our new bunk, and the potential new chairs and trainings. And so there's things needed there that are needed there. Luisa's talked about the field and the needs there. We definitely have some things that we want to look at with that and representation, you know, and definitely you've heard from Tara about some of the things that we need to do, and you'll hear more about some of the things in just DLC by DLC. I think that, well, the one thing, you know, it's like you have to get a grasp of things that you don't know. And so the things that we don't know right now is just where we are, you know, with staffing needs. And I mean, we know that there's potential, that there's holes, and we know that there's things that we want to start, like labs again. So what's it going to take to restart that and develop that program? So, but we really, number one for me in the first 100 days is really get a grasp of what our financial forecast looks like. What's it been looking like? Is it a downward turn? Like we feel that membership is declining, and what does that mean? And then if so, what are some of the things that we want to start planning so that we start turning that tide? But the most important thing in the first 100 days for me is to get a sense of what that looks like, of what our financials are, what is our financial situation, and begin to develop a plan for how we move forward. Again, to bring that up, to bring us to whatever the situation is, to still, we want to scale that back up to a level where we know where there's programs that we want to develop, that we have the means to do that. And so while there are a lot of things that we want to start beginning to plan and looking at, the most important thing that will allow us to do that is just our financials, you know. And so that will be key for me in the first 100 days.
Thank you, candidate Cordova. Candidate Rooks, what are your plans for your first 100 days in office?
Thank you for that question, Vaughn. So my plan for the first 100 days pretty much aligns with Miguel, because I would be the Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer. So the finances, knowing where we are, is very crucial. I know that I mentioned that earlier. And just getting a sense of where each district is financial, because every district is very unique, right? So, and also, I need to be very honest with when I say this. There are a lot of programs that are happening in SEIU Local 1000. I was a part of some of them, right? Because I had the opportunity to be a part of some of the programs. And for me, those programs programs should do several different things, and I'll touch on those in a minute. But of course, we know that the programs are supposed to generate revenue, right? And there were several programs at the time that I know of that were happening. So we had the Member Save program where the members that were out on union leave would make phone calls to those members who dropped their dues and to try to get them to come back to us, right? So you would think that that would be a very important program to try, right? And so there's this, they had the NEO program where you would reach out to the new members, new employees that would come to state service, and then you'd acclimate them about our union and to try to get them to join. Because to me, if someone's questioning the value of being a member, then they don't understand the value of it, right? So why should I be a member? Then you don't understand the value. And so that would be the goal of like an NEO presentation. And then you had the member-to-member program where the people that were out on union leave would then go to the work sites to try to find people who were not members, and then they would connect to them one-on-one. Well, as it stands now, I have no idea what programs that we're doing are who's doing them. So we don't know the union who's out on union leave, what programs are working, what they're not working. And should I know that? Yes, we're on the board of directors, and those numbers have not really been shared with us, right? So I have no idea what programs are doing what, and that is very important when you're talking about the revenue, right? And so so we know membership is very important, because that people, I guess, when you talk to people, and again, you meet people where they are. We have a lot of sayings in SEIU Local 1000, and I agree with some of them, right? So you meet people where they are. Some people don't understand the value of membership, and that's what generates revenue to sustain this organization. We have to have membership. So we don't know where those numbers are. We have no idea. We can guess at it, that it's 50,000 members or 60,000 members, but until we get in there and do an assessment, that's what I would like to do. And this team, we talked about it. That has to happen. So we can have a goal and a plan of what we want to do in our first 100 days, but really it's an assessment of where we are, so we know where we need to go. So for me, with those programs, they need to do at least two things. So if I'm a member out on union leave and I'm in the program, then I should know that I should be learning from those programs. And then when I go back into the work site, I educate my members of how to build power in the work site, right? And then you work closely with the vice president of organizing and representation, because that person would have plans of programs, right? And so now understand the role as the vice president, secretary, treasurer is to connect with everyone on this team. We all work together because we need to know that these programs should generate that. So you should be able to go back to work, have a conversation, you build power in the work site, and then it should create membership. Like, you will hear me say this over and over, that generates the revenue. We have to have membership, right? And so if it doesn't do those two things for me, then we need to revisit, reassess, and figure that out. But like I said earlier, I have no idea what programs are happening now, because that is not disclosed at this moment. So that's part of my plan for the first 100 days. And I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Candidate Rooks. Candidate Leoma, please share what are your plans for your first 100 days in office.
Hi. So for me, what I do know for sure, there's an assessment that needs to be made when it gets to the organizing and representational area of our organization. So part of the assessment is to organize, what is the field moving right now? What are the different programs that they're doing? Are we truly engaging and building the membership with the programs that they have in place? Or do we need to restructure it, a little bit? Whatever it is, we definitely need to take a look at where the organizing team is at, where the contract department is at, where the URC folks are, and possibly legal. Like, I truly believe that all of the departments in this organization need to be brought together so that we are all on the same page, depending on what the issues are. But in addition to that, I truly believe that one of the areas in our organization that we lack in is the accountability, right? So often we hear about people asking about union leave, and to be honest, it's basically most of our union leavers are out in the field being member leader organizers. And so what I'd like to see is what are their strategies and how are they organizing? And is this really an effective way of strategically moving our organization? Or is there training required so that they would be at their best, right? When they're in the work sites. And holding our members accountable for the work that they do. Not just our members, but the staff, because it's so easy to lose track of people when people are in Sacramento and people are not actually, like for me, I plan to be in the field with the members who are organizing, who are doing representational issues, whatever it is. I believe as Vice President of Organizing and Representation, the best way of you to know what's going on is to have hands-on with the members. The best way for you to know what needs to be changed is to be in those work sites, connecting with the membership, and then bringing that back and educating the department you work with, right? Not just educating them, but they're going to educate you on things that happen consistently in this organization. And it seems like it just continues to happen, right? So one of the things I've heard a lot is that members feel that management runs amok on them. And is it true? Absolutely. Because they have no respect for our contract language that is literally law. It's signed into law by the legislature. So, for me, that's one of the things. But in addition to that is our leadership program, our LAPS program. It has been on hold for over a year now, and people are asking. And there is a high need in a lot of in certain areas and in certain departments where they need more stewards. And it's not about being part of a program. It's what they take from the program and how they use what they've learned and implement that. Because often we do a great job. People talk about how awesome our LAPS program is, but then we send them back to work and we continue to use the same people we've had out for years on union leave organizing, but yet people are on fire. We have millennials who became part of the union and become stewards because they're on fire to bring that change, but we don't look at them. We don't engage them like how we do the people that we're comfortable with. So are we truly building leaders? Or are we building just the leaders in the circle that we choose? Not what we need, not what we should be doing as an organization when you have people who are wanting that help. So that, for me, those are the areas that I will look at. And again, I believe with the help of our members, we could put a program together that is going to work for our members across the state of California.
Thank you, Candidate Leuma. Candidate Cowart, what are your plans for your first 100 days in office?
So, can you hear me? I think you can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Actually really been thinking a lot about this question, and not about the 100 days, but just what would I do once I take office. And what comes to mind is this. We're probably a year out from really preparing or really starting bargaining. Our contract is up in 2023. And so from my perspective, I think it would be vital to meet with the chairs initially, and not just to be meeting to discuss, whatever, but really to meet to find out what are their top issues currently. What are the issues that they're working on? Because we need to actually start positioning ourselves for bargaining. And in doing that, we're going to have to work with the field, right? So we should already be planning to work with the field at this point on the issues that are going to be, we think that are going to be a priority for bargaining, right? And also too, from that conversation, I want to know, what do they feel is their need for their own personal leadership development? And so trying to create a plan to help those chairs get developed. And because in turn, like I said before, they're going to have to train their bargaining teams. So first off, really meeting with the chairs and really honing in on their priorities for their units, working with the field and trying to move some things in the field so we can get prepared for bargaining. And also to what do they think they feel that they need for their leadership development. The other thing is meeting with the contract department itself. And that could be the staff and the chairs together and find out what are the top issues or concerns they have for the contract department. What are the areas that we could be improved upon? I know working out of the contract department, one particular area I think that and probably the organization as a whole could improve on is communication. How do we communicate out, to our members? And also to what are their needs for leadership development? What do they want to work on within themselves? And the other thing that I thought about that I would need to do is actually put together a leadership and development team from the staff and the chairs within the contract department to work on developing the leadership development program, because I think that is going to be so vital in helping our new chairs and our current chairs and how they lead. And I think getting that started first week and putting that group together and saying, okay, we are going to start building something that is sustainable and that this union can build upon. And so for me, the things that I would like to focus on in the first 100 days is the chairs, the units, their priorities, positioning ourselves for bargaining, working with the field, and making improvements where we can in the contract department, and also beginning to develop our leadership program within the contract department that is sustainable and that is something that the organization can build upon. So that's what I plan on doing.
Thank you, candidate Cowart. Now, just to let everyone know, we have one more question for the statewide candidates. And we do want to take at least one question from the audience of our statewide candidates. And the last thing on our agenda is there will also be a structured question for me as the DLC candidate for Right Time, Right Choice. So knowing this, we're going to do our best to finish on time, but we will definitely address all that's on the agenda. So moving on to question number 4. Let's start with candidate Cordova. If a mixed slate of candidates wins this election, how do you plan to work with them and move forward?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, and we've heard, this question be asked or people talk about it and the possibilities of it. And really, like for me, the question is, the answer is the same, whether my entire state wins with me or I get in and I get a mixed slate of folks. And really is that all of the divisions, as I said before, it's something that we've all experienced and we've seen it, especially in leadership. It's got to end. We've got to find a way that we're moving forward together. So we've got to, if our entire slate wins, we still have to end it. We can't just sit there and walk away and say, we won, now you got to do what we, that's not going to work. That's just going to create more and more divisions as we go. So we've got to, the day after, we've got to start sitting down. We all have to start talking about how we move forward. What are some of the ideas? And not that we're all going to agree on everything, but the reality is that we have to figure out how we're going to move forward together. So the plan for me will be the same, whether it's me and some of my slate or nobody on my slate or everyone on my slate. We are going to proceed the day after with squashing all of this infighting and figure out ways that we're going to come together so that we truly build, like I said, that, from the very top, we truly start building this power of 96,000 because we need it. We need it for bargaining, we need it for the field, we need it for representation, we need it for everything that we're doing. And for the truly building the power of labor, which is really what we should be building. We have 96,000 folks that can be so powerful, so empowered, in our work sites and bring so much to the state if we figure out a way that we can all work together. And we will begin that the day after the election, regardless of who wins.
Thank you, candidate Cordova. Candidate Rooks, please share how you would work with the mixed slate.
Thank you, Vaughn. So I ran for this position because I believe that I can make a difference. And if someone wins other than my team, which I really hope that we all get in, then it's just a matter of, I would really try to schedule some time with who won so I can sit down and understand, because I've shared my vision that I have as vice president, secretary, treasurer, but they too had a vision. Everyone ran for a reason, right? So I would like to sit down and schedule some time with whoever won so I can understand their vision of how they wanted to lead our union, because it's very important to be able to work together, because at the end of the day, it shouldn't be about, well, I don't like her. Why did he win? Oh my God, I have to work with those people. And it should be more about thinking about the membership, because that is very important. And we should be able to work together for the sake of them, right? Your vision and your plan doesn't change for yourself. You just have to be able to work with the people who won, who also had a vision and a plan, we hope, to understand what it is they would like to do. So that's very important. It helps that we like one another and that we get along. But at the end of the day, it's about the membership. So thank you for that question.
Thank you, candidate Rooks. Candidate Leuma, please share how you work with a mixed slate.
So for me, that's a simple question, right? Because it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. And I'll use my profession as an example. I'm a nurse. And as nurses, we often deal with different patients. We often deal with different family members and different coworkers at some point. And so you make those adjustments, right? You figure out how to make your day work so that you don't drag. And so it's the same thing if we land a mixed plate. Of course, the idea is that we land as a team, but say it doesn't happen. We end up with a mixed plate. My vision and my commitment to the members of this organization should not change. If I am saying I'm committing to move this organization in a way that we win in different areas or in all areas, right? And there's an area of growth, then I should be able and shall I say, move in that direction, propose what my vision is. Whether the team is in support of your vision or not, I have an obligation to the membership. I'm saying to the membership, elect me, and this is what I will do. And this is the problem that we currently have in our organization with those who are in office now. They made a commitment. They got elected. They were put into office. But when they got the positions, they stopped moving. Whether it's a decision on their own or the decision of Yvonne Walker or whoever is in office, that should not stop you from moving the things you committed to the membership that you will do. And so for me, I don't have a problem working with a mixed plate. I will work well if I land with the team that we share the same vision. But again, it's not about me. It's not about my team. It's not about any other of the other candidate. It's about the membership that you committed to support when you land those positions.
Thank you, candidate Leuma. Candidate Coward, please share how you would work with a mixed slate.
I would work with a mixed slate with the same excitement as though my entire slate won. I'm excited about the work that I plan on doing. And I hope if it is a mixed slate that they are as excited as well, right? Because it really is about the members. And if we focus on the work, we don't have time to really be hating on each other. And so at the end of the day, if that doesn't work, I'll just have to take the position. Ain't nobody got time for that. We just need to do the work. And it is just so, it is just so important that we don't bring our own personal feelings into the work that we do. And oftentimes that's how we get in the position of really having where we currently are in our organization. And our contract is up in 2023, and our time is limited. And if we don't take this opportunity to focus, really focus on the work for the members, then where do we go from there? Because we have spent so much time already with a lot of infighting. And I think all the members, everyone is tired of it. And so I think for this particular slate, we've already made a commitment. That's not who we are. And that's why we all came together, because we bring integrity. We bring a certain character to the table that people want to jump on board with, because they know we're genuine. They know that we truly care about people and about the members. And they know that once we get in office, we will focus on the work and not feed into all the negativity that's currently out there. So for me, once I'm elected, it will truly be about how do I grow the organization and really focus on the work, the members, and really bring 100% of who I am to the position that I hold. So that's it.
Thank you so much, candidate Cowart. And this is the close of our panel questions. Thank you so much for responding to the panel questions. And now we are shifted to open discussion. Due to time constraints, we are going to be accepting one question from the audience. And in this open discussion, you can ask anything that you think is important to you and your coworkers. So to ask a question, you can raise your hand. You can pose a question to the moderator. And we'd love to hear what you think and what you want to learn a bit more about.
What's going on? Vaughn, I have a question, if I can ask it.
Yes, please.
And this really goes to everyone, including you, frankly. All of the candidates for, a statewide office and for DLC 781. What can you do to help out our DLC 781? What do you think you can do for us?
Is there anyone you'd like to respond first?
Well, Vaughn, why don't you go first? We haven't had a chance to hear from you, and you're running for president of DLC 781. What do you think you can do for the folks here at 781?
I feel that what I can bring to DLC 781 is steady and open leadership. I have experience not just working with Local 1000, but also within the department as a project lead for many projects in, political campaigns, like, being a Bernie victory captain, where I have a servant leader mindset. It's not about my ego. It's not about even just the pain point of the day. It's about who we are as a people, as a DLC, as coworkers, as all of it. And what direction do we want to decide we want to go to collectively? So what I bring in specifically is I believe in coalitions and I believe in collaboration. So I will promote an environment where everyone will have an opportunity to be heard, to contribute, to share, and to celebrate the victories that we'll inevitably have. Because I think it's that human connection that we're really missing in this world right now. The work from home environment that I know is a big deal at CalPERS. We have 10% of employees who are working in the office. And I know at our other sites, such as Department of Consumer Affairs, there's a huge work from home component as well. So how do we connect when we aren't sitting right next to each other, when we can't go to a meeting and have lunch together? I believe I can bring in strategies to connect in this virtual world, like having meetings like this, like having a way for anyone who wants to ask me a question or learn more about our union, be able to make an appointment with me. By creating videos with my fellow stewards to educate our members about different topics that impact us all. I think what we need in this world is the commitment to work with each other, and also the recognition that we need to acknowledge the world that we're in right now and find ways to connect people where they are, which the answer is to where people are. We're everywhere, and how to bring us together and make us feel more connected. Thank you, Stuart, for asking that question.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and answer that, Stuart. I think, for me, as a chair for Bargaining Unit 21, one of the things that I always felt was very important, because it was one of the reasons that I ran, was that I not lose having that connection to my work site, that I make sure that I'm going to meetings, that I'm connected there, that at least people see me or know that they can ask me questions. And so that visibility to some degree was always very important, even though I knew sometimes it might be impossible. I never stopped going to DLC meetings. And I find that as a president of the local, as we're traveling around and talking to people throughout the states, as I've gone to, I mean, I literally, like, close to myself, like so many different DMV sites where I'd see the communities that folks live in. I look at the communities that are prison populations and all the different places. It's everywhere, it's different. And even in Sacramento, when you look at, DLCs that are in downtown Sacramento, or a place like CalPERS that's so huge, right? Or, you go out to Rancho and they're separated out to the extent even where Tara is with Folsom, right? Everyone is different, and unless we have some connection and some sense of exposure to hearing from members that are living that, we don't really get it, right? We develop a program, and we believe that program should be everywhere, whether it's in CalPERS, whether it's in Rancho, whether it's in Folsom, or whether it's in Ontario or El Centro, and to me, that may not make sense. And unless we're going around talking to folks, we don't know what some of their needs are. It just seems like, a lot of what is viewed from all work sites is that, SEIU, Local 1000, outside of Sacramento, they see it as Sacramento. Within Sacramento, they see it as all these other things, but not related to their work site. We need to find ways that we are connecting with them so that they know that SEIU Local 1000 is connecting with them with what their needs are at their workplace. And we've got to understand that they may all be different. And then to some degree, there may be people that fit into different parts of programs that we're running, but it can't just be one way that we get people engaged. And I think that's where we miss that, right? And so for me, like, I commit to whatever issues are going around or people are talking about, that we should be there, that we should be hearing from that, or that people feel connected enough that they reach out to us as officers, as the 4 statewide candidates. I mean, the commitment will be that we aren't strangers to DLC meetings, and that we aren't strangers to the work sites where our members are, whether that's corrections or DMVs or downtown Sacramento. We gotta be present, and that's my commitment in terms of how I would go about working with your particular DLC and the needs that are there.
Thank you.
Hi. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
So just to piggyback on what Miguel and actually Vaughn said too, and it actually hit me yesterday, and it's funny you asked this question. I was just really thinking about how I think as an organization, we really never tapped into all of the skills that our members have and utilize them within the organization. And so when you ask that question, I immediately thought, your Dlc781, I think about CalPERS, right? Because it's probably, I guess, the largest building or place work site within your DLC. And I just thought how great it would be to have ongoing workshops that I'm sure CalPERS puts on itself, but to bring that into the local, right? Just something that just popped into my head. And Miguel's right, we don't go enough into our work sites and actually, tap into our members to say, hey, look, we have this idea. We know you work at this particular work site. Why don't you take that particular program and see if you could offer it to some of our members who may be interested in learning about retirement. They may only be 30 years old, but guess what? They're still interested in learning about retirement.
I want to go next because I got to get this off.
I just really think that we don't, like Miguel said, we are not in the work sites enough. We don't really engage our members enough to really find out, I think, their interest in how they can truly help really the organization that is our organization. And I think that would be so great if we did that more, went out to the work sites, brought our members in and say, hey, look, we got members, that could do workshop for seniors or, how to, I don't know, even for nursing. Like maybe we have some that want to be nurses. Maybe we do a workshop on how you, can, apply for college and get into nursing school. I just think that we don't utilize our members enough. And I think they want to help. They want to, offer their services to the organization. And we just don't tap into that enough. But yeah, I think that was a really good question.
Thanks for your answer.
Yes, it was a good question. And I think I'm it. I would like to go next. So Stuart, so throughout my journey as DLC president, what I discovered was that there were a lot of leaders out there who are members who weren't as engaged. And so I knew going in what would be important is to be visible, like Miguel and Kim said, because you can't expect anybody. So I feel like in order to mobilize people to do what you need to do, you have to organize, right? So you can't just, I heard a whole lot of, oh my God, you must want something. What are you doing here? When they first met me. So I knew that work, the groundwork was going to be alone, but I wanted to do it. I want to get to know people. I want to hear from people. So I believe sitting down and having one-on-ones with members, like a member like you, Stuart, to help maybe predict where we'll be in 5 years, like to tap into that knowledge, right? And also work with Vaughn, right? Because she has a vision and a plan, and that takes a team. So I would have to see where your DLC is in terms of like your e-board and then meet with them to see really what their vision is, right? The membership is very important because in any building, if you're at 50% or more membership, that's a winning campaign, right? So you want to increase membership, right? And then working with, again, like I said, the VP of organizing and representation of the programming, right? So it's just a matter of understanding the DLC that you're working with, because no two DLCs are the same. You have to get to know people and what they want to see. So I would be doing a lot of that. And like Luisa said, I'm not doing any of those things behind a desk. I'm going to be out there, as much as I can, because I did that in my own district. I didn't know anybody when I first started, and we build some leaders to where they really wanted to be active. And in the contract campaign, we led most of the actions in DLC 769. So, and their work sites are growing, right? They're doing more joint labor management committees. The supervisors or managers respect them better now, respect them more. So just some of that, wherever I can help, do some of that. So thank you.
Thank you, Tara.
Go on mute.
You're welcome.
Okay, Stuart, it's Luisa. I'll make this quick, as quickly as I can. So I know that as somebody who is running for organizing and representation, I think before we move in on anything in your DLC, we should take a look and assess where our members are at, right? And before we even start talking all kinds of stuff, is assessing them and seeing what really drives their interest and how do we connect them to our organization as a whole. Maybe they were all members at one time and they've lost interest because whatever the reason is. But one of the things that I feel like we don't do enough in our organization, we lean heavily on our stewards, which we should, but we don't take a deeper look at the folks who are they just want to be activists. They don't have time to become stewards, and bringing them in to be part of that team, right? I think that's somewhere I would propose to start as part of this team moving in, is knowing where the member engagement is, knowing what really draws our members in your DLC to stay interested in the work that we do as an organization as a whole, and just the follow-up, brother, because I could tell you that's where part of our weakness is. We go out, we talk to the members, and then they don't see you again until another year and a half or whatever it be. Maybe I'm over exaggerating the time frame, but we don't keep them engaged. It's hard to stay engaged when we're only there to ask for something from them, instead of saying, how do I help you stay active in this organization and draw more people into this organization in your DLC. What I could share with you real quick, brother, that my DLC has been the model DLC when I was out in the field organizing, and it continued to be the model DLC in the field because people stay engaged. And one of the things that I urged the members in our region was always do your follow-up work. Don't wait to go talk to the members when you're asking for something. You need to stay engaged with them at all times or as much as possible. So I think that's what my recommendation would be, brother, when it gets to your DLC.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Stuart, for asking the question. And in the interest of time, and the fact that you actually preemptively asked the question for the panel question as well, I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on my response, because I do feel that I owe it to our membership to let you know a little bit more of what specifically I want to do, and also talk about why I believe Miguel, Tara, Luisa, and Kim are the right choice. So specifically in our DLC, in addition to what I shared, was we need to heal. I want to honestly and sincerely acknowledge the divisions that we are experiencing in the DLC as well. And it's and without being really earnest about where we are right now, it's going to be very difficult to move forward. I do think we also have to acknowledge that in our DLC, that we have so few job stewards already, but of the job stewards that we had, at least a quarter of them dropped their stewardship since I've been a job steward. And I've been a job steward since 2017. I think something that we do need to acknowledge as a DLC, and I would need to acknowledge as a DLC president, is why are we having difficulty attracting? And also, what can we do to better serve our stewards right now, the ones that are putting in the work, the ones who are passionate about our members, and the one that care about moving us forward? So what I commit to do with that is when it comes to our job stewards, I want to reconnect with every single individual job steward. And I want to be able to see what everyone's individual goals and passions are and see how we can work together to accomplish these. Because I think it is critical that if we are to work together, we create the most supportive environment we can. As far as our former job stewards, I think it's important to acknowledge their service as well and also ask, why did you drop? Would you be interested in rejoining if certain things were to change? I think re-engagement, even if they don't want to be a job steward anymore, is really important because they chose at one point to step up and to be leaders in our organization. And also, I think fresh blood helps too. We need to recruit new job stewards because we are a huge DLC. We represent more than CalPERS. We have DCA, we have CalVCB. We also have lots of other smaller agencies. But with the current world that we're in right now, we're not serving the members to the best of our ability. And there's all sorts of ways that we can remedy it. But I do think it comes first, what needs to come first is reconnecting with our members and reconnecting with our stewards. Also, I do think we need to use things that have been tried and true. Joint labor management committees used to be very, very successful at CalPERS, and they fall into the wayside. I commit to reestablishing them at CalPERS and any other agency that wants them, because I believe it's super important for our members to see what it looks like when we have equal footing with management. There's a perception that union can't do anything, but they need to see what it looks like when we can. And I think joint labor management committees are especially powerful because our members get to see us resolve issues at the lowest level. We shouldn't let things fester if we can help it. Lastly, I think health and safety issues are super, super important. And they're our world right now. The coronavirus pandemic changed our worlds forever. And we're still living in the pandemic right now. We were shifted to working from home so abruptly. And that has caused so many downstream effects. I want to, as a DLC, be able to acknowledge and address the mental, emotional, and physical issues that have come out of working from home. And I do think we have tools such as the joint labor management committees, the reasonable accommodation process that we can use to help remedy these for individual members. And more than remedying for individual members, we need to educate our members broadly. And lastly, as far as why I'm supporting Right Time, Right Choice, I've seen them around for many, many years. Luisa and I worked together on the Asian Pacific Islander Human Rights Committee for SEIU Local 1000. We've committed to reaching out to our Asian Pacific Islander state employees to try to get them engaged, which isn't easy because we are not the stereotype, but we've made many strides to get there. As far as Miguel and Kim, they have been so prominent in their bargaining roles. I've seen them in town halls throughout the state of California for multiple campaigns. And I just love how passionate they are about helping us understand what it takes to win a good contract. And last but not least, Ms. Tara. Ms. Tara, and we've worked together so closely at the Sacramento regional organizing committees, where we work together to figure out issues impacting Sacramento state workers specifically. And we develop plans about how we can help our coworkers as a collective group. This is a kind of collaboration that I believe will not make our DLC successful, but also our union successful at large. And I am so grateful for everything I've learned from Ms. Tara and all of our other statewide candidates. They have weekly meetings where they go out of their way to get to know anyone who wants to learn more about them and their campaign. I know that they've gotten to know us statewide, and every single week, even tonight, they're going to be online listening to questions and comments that are important to our members and important to help them understand how to lead our organization for the future. This is the leadership I believe is going to help us move forward. I believe that there is a better way, and a vote for right time, right choice is the way that's going to move us forward and help us become the union that we deserve. So thank you again, Stuart, for that question. I believe it is something that's really important for our members to know. And we have actually reached to the end of our program today. So as follow-up, if you have more questions or you want to join our weekly calls, you can email RTRC2021@gmail.com. They also have a website called righttimerightchoice.com. And what we're going to be doing at the end of this meeting is we're going to work to create videos so that you can watch this in the future and share it widely. Also, our campaign is really active on Facebook. So like us, follow us, share our content. We'd be really, really happy to get more engagement. And last but not least, vote today. Ballots are due on May 20th by 5 p.m. Every vote counts. And even if you don't vote for us, we want you to express your voice at the ballot box, because it's about us having our voice and being able to choose the future that we want to see. Thank you everyone for joining today. It was wonderful to get to know our candidates a little bit more. And thank you for our special guest, Stuart Bennett, for asking us the question. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining.